All right, here we are, week 35. I am counting the weeks still. I probably should stop doing that, but it's like kind of just a way to help me keep.
Helps anchor us.
Yeah,
There you go. Yep.
it
Yep.
does. But anyways, I've been busy this week with just academy things and hiring people and trying to figure out how to keep going with just life in general. My kid, man,
Right.
he did not want to go to school this week. I don't know if that ever changes.
Did it take some convincing? I mean, are you a stick or carrot kind of parent? Is it like get out of the car, get in there, or is it you trying to bribe them?
Oh, it's a mix. Both my kids are so different, right? So
Okay. Yeah.
my son's very headstrong, likes things a certain way, so I have to be loving yet firm. And then
Right. Okay.
my daughter is more compliant, right? She's more of a
Okay.
people pleaser, I
Right.
guess. So
I
with
got you.
her, I don't have to try as hard, but I have to make sure that, she doesn't kind of bribe me. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Did she doesn't wrap you around her finger?
Totally. I got to be
That's
careful
right.
of that. So I get my wife
Yeah.
involved on that one because, yeah,
Okay.
my little girl she could, she wants
All
candy.
right.
Oh man,
She can get her way.
she
All
gets
right.
it, and I got to be careful of that.
Okay. I got one of those. Yep.
Yeah, yeah, it's
I
fun.
got a few of those actually.
Yeah, don't we
Yep.
all? All right.
Yep.
So that's been my week. You're still drilling, right?
Yeah. We started a new well this week. So
Another one.
just a day or two ago. Yeah, yeah, we finished the last one, moved off it last week, and spud in yesterday morning.
Okay,
So yeah,
that's right.
yeah.
And then, how deep are you guys by this point? Like a day later, are you like 1,000 feet down? I mean,
Well, right now we're at like 3,000 feet,
okay,
3,500.
all
So
right,
a lot of times we'll make better progress than that. This one's going a little bit slower up here in the shallow interval, but
yeah. Yeah, and you're still casual about it. To me, it's like fast. You're like, oh, this is part of my day.
well, I mean, to an extent, a lot of people call it a treadmill. I mean, the challenges always change, and the rigs change, and the locations change, and formations change, all those different things. But a lot of it's just, a lot of it's repetitive, in terms of the day to day and kind of what you're doing. So it's like anything else, man. You kind of get used to it.
Right? Yeah, I
Yeah,
gotcha.
yeah.
Makes sense. Well, I got some questions for you, as I always
Okay,
do. But this
all right,
morning, doing my typical Twitter scroll just to kind of catch up on what's going out there.
okay,
But I don't even like doing that anymore. I don't know. But long story short, I follow a lot of oil
okay,
spots on Twitter. A
right,
guy named Dan Doyle post a video, bad injector, things smoking out, whatever. But then I was reading
okay,
the comments like I always do, and someone
huh?
mentioned it was a double rig. And then I
Okay,
got to thinking, well, double implies that there's a single, and maybe there's more
yes.
than that. So there's different types of rigs, is kind of what I'm learning now.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So you hit the nail on the head there. So you got doubles, you got singles, and then triples. Most of your modern rigs, I would probably, I don't even want to say modern. Most of the rigs probably in operation right now are triples. Really, what that's talking about is how many joints of drill pipe it can pick up at a time. So a triple can pick up 3 joints, double pick up 2, a single pick up 1. That has a big effect on your efficiency, how fast you trip in, how many connections you have to make. 'Cause, on a triple, you can pull 3 joints of drill pipe and break it every roughly 96 feet, 100 feet. Whereas on a single, you're making connections every 32 feet or so on those joints of drill pipe. And so that relates to efficiency, but also usually size. Triples are usually bigger. They rack back more drill pipe. They have bigger derricks and more hoisting capacity and all these different things. And so they're more for your horizontal, deeper wells
Okay.
is what you see on your triples here. Yep.
Gotcha. And of
Yep.
a length of drill pipe again, is it 12 feet, 16 feet? Is there?
No, so drill pipe's right at 31, 32 feet. So each joint of drill pipe is about 31 or 32 feet.
I'm
Yep.
surprised that that hasn't been standardized down to like the inch, right? Like, between maybe it has been, but
Well, they usually come out pretty similar in that, but I mean, as you repair and all these different things, the lengths of them could change some,
okay, so
and
they're
yeah. So
reusing it effectively at some point.
oh yeah, 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 yeah. You don't, you want to fix it as much as you can. You don't want to just scrap that much metal.
Yeah, I would imagine it would be expensive to even just recycle it or reprocess it. Okay, good to know.
Yeah, they'll sell it for scrap, and you're kind of getting pennies on the dollar, really. But
Yeah,
anything helps.
anything helps. And I've seen some drill pipe that comes out, and I mean, it is so, you couldn't twist a straw that much. Some of the stuff I comes out,
Yeah, some of those are definitely turning. That's for sure.
it's amazing.
I've seen some bent. I've never had any corkscrew like those. Some of those pictures on there show like
Hmm.
helical. I mean, it's like a permanent deformation in
Right.
like this helical pattern.
Yeah.
I've never done anything like that. We've bent a couple of joints before, but never anything like what they're talking about there with that with that helix formation.
All right. So we've got singles, doubles, and then triples, right?
Right. Yep.
All right. Well, it sounds like I can relate to that. Like with surfboard fins, you got single fin, double fin, triple fin. But anyway,
Really?
yeah,
Okay. I had
yeah,
no idea.
there
All
you
right.
go.
See, now I'm learning stuff.
Right.
Now, when you got a single fin, is it usually one big fin?
Yeah. It's
Because on triples, isn't it like two smaller ones and a bigger one in the middle, or
Yeah, so
how's that work?
the single fin will have it's just for mostly for longboarding, right? Sometimes like you'll
Okay.
get like a fun board that's like a fish, so it looks like a little fish.
Okay.
With a single on it, but there's all kinds of weird surfers are weird. They like to just vary like, hey, I rode this board that had like, no bite on the left and it had it on the right, and you're just like, okay, why'd you do that? And because it was fun and I shaped it, right? But so my wife rides single fin predominantly.
Okay.
It's just a different style. And then you've got the double, right? We get two bites on the side and then triple. So triples are fun. They're a little faster typically, but yeah. See, there's
Really? Okay.
surfing and oil and gas are so related.
That's
You don't even know it.
yeah.
Speaking of, I got our new website up, and my buddy
Yeah, that looks
JJ Wessel.
slick.
Yeah, there's a picture on there that really kicked this whole thing off for me, and like there's such a story behind it. But if you go on our site at Local
Okay.
Energy and you scroll down, there's a photo that JJ took. It's Scotty Stopnick's his friend out there at Huntington Beach with one of the rigs in the background. I saw that picture back in 2014 when he first took it. Up to that, like, I really hadn't paid attention to the offshore rigs in California, but then you start noticing them, you're like, "Man, that's a cool piece of art," and I really wanted to get it, like, framed and put on my wall. Didn't happen, and then a couple years later, I'm talking to JJ about it because now I'm doing this, and I'm like, "Man, I gotta get that picture." So, he's like, "Man," he's like, "With what you're doing, it's all yours. Do with it what you want," and, but it's cool. So Californians for Energy and Science used it in some of their marketing last year, or actually
Okay.
and then we sent a version of it to Digital Wildcatters, and they have it up in their studio. So a little bit of
Oh, that's really
California in
cool.
there. So yeah, I love the
Nice.
surf stuff though.
Yeah, there's a long history out there, Long Beach and all that stuff. Man, it's crazy to see all those pictures of those rigs right there on the beach.
I still want to do tanker surfing in the Gulf of America. I think that'd be a blast.
What do you mean by tank? Like you like surfed the wake of a tanker?
Yeah, yeah. So they got
Okay, all
and
right.
it's been done. Like there's guys that'll go out and they'll ride for 2 miles on a board, and by the time they're done, I mean they're cooked. But
Oh my
it's the
gosh.
whole thing. It's really cool. There's some videos on YouTube you can check out, but
Okay, I'm gonna have to
something
watch
I want
that.
to
I
do.
mean,
It's cool.
how big do these waves get? I mean, are these like
They're
legit waves?
they're small. I mean, you think
Okay,
like
so they don't like roll over like barrel or whatever that
no, there's
is.
no
Okay,
barreling, but you can imagine like just kind of walking on water, like 3 to 4 foot wake, and you're just being
right.
it's fun. Like,
Huh.
and that's
All
really
right.
for me what surfing is. It's not this like crazy like let's
It's not
smash
the
the lip and
competition
go
stuff.
back down. Like no, I just
Okay.
paddle, enjoy nature. You get to stand
Okay.
up on a wave and like it's fun to be part of the ocean, really.
Man, whenever I was younger, I was about 15 on a trip to Hawaii with my parents, and there was a huge storm that came through, and we were on over there. It's not North Shore, but it was somewhere over there. But there was like this huge like cliff that goes straight down, and this little bay down there, and all these cars stopped, and we stopped with them to look down there, and it was these dudes riding these huge waves. And I mean, like I was 15, so I'm probably making up numbers here, but like I swear they were like 30, 40 foot waves, and they would catch this wave and ride in, and this jet ski would have to like zoom in and pick them up and running back out before that next wave hit.
Yeah,
And like it was just so, I mean, and we're talking like hundreds of people just stopping right there on that cliff watching all this. It was just absolutely amazing to watch those guys
yeah.
surfing those waves.
Well, there's in Maui, you have Jaws, right? So that's one of the bigger breaks
Okay.
here, and like it's famous. But I think
I'm gonna have to see if that was maybe it. I mean, it was an amazing storm. I mean, like they were closing some of the roads because the waves were breaking on the roads that were down there at sea level and everything. It was
yeah,
sweet.
it was I think a year or two ago. Jaws had a break. It was like 72 feet. It was a world record, for that.
Oh my gosh.
But then you go to there's in Portugal. There's a break called Nazaire, and
Okay. Is
it's
that where the 100 footers and stuff?
yeah, and you see the video, like there's like memes on it and stuff, but it's you've got this beautiful like church lighthouse like on the edge of this cliff, and then you see Nazaire
Right.
breaking on the right, and it's a left hand, so you take a left, and it's
Okay.
but I mean the guys that wipe out on that, it's just there's so much with surfing that you just kind of just all the breaks. So I don't know. It's
Okay.
nothing I would ever do, but my wife would probably tackle something like that in her younger days, I'm sure.
So I got a question for you here. Whenever I think of surfing, I think of one specific movie. What movie do you think that is?
But see,
What should it be? Maybe that's a better
what should
question.
it be? I
Oh,
should
I've got
know
one
this
in my
because
head.
you're a movie guy. No, what's that movie where the guy's got to do the seven different like?
Yeah, I haven't seen that one.
My gosh, no, it's a Point Break. Everyone thinks,
Yeah, that was 100% it. Point Break was the first thing I thought. Johnny Utah out
yeah,
there riding,
yeah, yeah, yeah. Uh, the
Bodie going out for one last wave.
The Point Break wave. Gosh, I'm trying to remember. They filmed. There was a. I gotta remember the movie. Wait, I gotta Google it now. Movie with. I'm gonna have to cut this out of the pod, but it's okay. It's not. It's not the wave from
You don't think
Interstellar.
anybody wants to watch you Google stuff?
No, they really don't. I should know this too. Maybe it isn't Point Break because it's the wave that breaks out in California off of like breaks once every 10 years.
Huh. Okay.
Every maybe it is every 7 years. Yeah. Anyways, I'll have to find it. It's gonna
Okay.
bother me. It's gonna bother me. I can't believe my if my wife was here,
I was gonna say your wife probably know it.
she'd be screaming from the other room if she could hear me. Uh, anyways, all right, cool. Well, we'll talk about oil and gas again because
Okay.
apparently that's
All right.
important. All right, had an abbreviation for you, and
Okay.
I
All
think you
right.
know
The
this
test
one.
is on.
We've talked about this one before, but
Okay.
TST.
Hey,
TS.
what? Okay, so true stratigraphic thickness. I think it would be that one. Yep. So that's more on the geology side of things. Yep, talking about essentially how thick a formation is, and yeah,
Okay, so pretty
they use that a
straightforward.
lot of time because yeah, they use that a lot of time because as like if you drill with an angle through a formation, you can't just use your TBDs because you could if you enter over here and you exit over here and there's like a dip in between, you can't just go this depth from this depth and that's your thickness. You have to TST essentially normalizes for your bed dip and the angle with which you go through the zone, and so that way like the Woodford's 250 feet thick.
Okay,
So
got it.
even though it may have taken you something like 400 feet measured depth, or your TVD change could be 220 feet, it just takes into account a few different things there.
So you guys are working pretty closely with geologists then
Oh
on the
yeah.
planning side. I mean, they're integral to this whole thing. It's not. It's
Oh, 100%. Yeah. Geologists usually, they're there from the planning of the well until you TD. A lot of times, every company's a little bit different in their planning process, but a lot of times it starts with a geoprog, so that's geological prognosis. They essentially create this document that tells you, where all of your formation tops are. As you go down to your zone, you use that information to create your well plan. So I need to have a geoprog or at least formation tops before I go out there and start working with our directional company to create a well plan. And so they're involved in the pre-planning process is what I say. They're kind of one of the first ones to really touch all the information and data out there. And then they create their documents, they pass them on to drilling. The drilling uses them to plan our stuff, but then also we work with geology throughout the execution of it too. Whether it's picking the casing seats for your casing runs or building your curve, landing in zone, targeting in your lateral, all those different things are usually done in communication with geology.
okay. Very
Yeah.
cool. I didn't realize that was so like you kind of think geologists, at least from my initial thought, would be like, okay, they have a map of underground already, so you already have the data. Why do you need the same person or thing again? But apparently,
Well,
it's
they're usually the ones who create that map, so they'll go out and back in the day, they'd grab all the logs and then they'd put the depths on there and then they kind of had to hand draw them around, drawing all their contours and stuff. Now, a lot of that's more digitized. It's more, you've got software packages that go out there and will create those structure maps and all that stuff for you. It's still geologist's responsibility to look at it, make sure everything makes sense in terms of everything that they look at, deposition and whatnot.
okay. Cool. Well, that's good to know. I would love to get I really want to get a geologist on here with us. I want to talk to a geologist. We got to find somebody.
Well, there's some characters out there. We'll find ourselves a geologist with some character there.
Yeah, yeah. I'm sure we will. So the other here's one I thought maybe he knows this, maybe he doesn't. But what is
Okay,
norm?
man, I don't know. I mean, I just go normal. I have no idea what
Yeah.
that was a new one to me. Norm.
All right, and it may not be an upstream. It's probably not upstream, but norm, according to the search I did, stands for naturally occurring radioactive material. So
Interesting.
yeah,
Okay.
so this
Well, that
could
would
be
be like your gamma ray detectors. Like that would be potassium, uranium, thorium. Those are naturally occurring radiation. Yeah.
right. So norm is measured. It's basically it can be present in produced water and scale deposits from oil and gas reservoirs. So that's a new one. Maybe it's used. Maybe it's never used. Who knows? I guess
Okay.
we'll find out.
Yeah, that's one that that's one that I haven't, I can't say that I've really run across it. I mean, the
Yeah.
way that the definition you used seems like it had more to do with the production side,
Hmm.
you know,
Yeah, I would
hmm,
agree.
all right. We do read some of that naturally occurring radiation though on the drilling side. So that just hadn't heard that one. All right, learn something new every day.
Throw it out there and see if anyone else recognizes it or calls you crazy.
Okay, I'll reach out to some of my production friends and
Yeah.
see if that's something that they ever talk about.
All right. A couple days ago, or like a couple weeks ago, we were talking about these, how wells are drilled, and you were kind of explaining the term azimuth to me. And
Okay.
I haven't stopped thinking about it because at the time you're like, it's kind of complicated to explain because it is. I mean, how do you explain it, over video, first of all, right? But one thing that I've kind of started figuring out, so I've been working on these 3D models of a horizontal
Hmm.
well because I want to basically create something that's tangible that people can click on and my son and all that, right? And I've talked about that at length. But what I've learned is it seems to be very relevant in three-dimensional renderings also. So like you'll basically take a 3D object file and then you have to plot the X, Y, and Z for all of
Right.
the interactions. And I think that's more or less what an azimuth would be, right? It's kind of like determining based
Yeah.
on a north point or something like that, like what's happening.
Yeah, so I think the other day we were talking about vertical section azimuth. So if you just look at azimuth, azimuth is just the direction that you're headed. You know what I mean? So like if you're going north, like if you're going due north, then you're going to a 0 degree azimuth. You know what I mean? If you're going due east, that's a 90 degree azimuth. South, 180 degree azimuth.
Just like
And so on.
a pilot would use when they're
Yeah,
flying.
yeah, exactly, exactly. So that's just your azimuth is really just a direction. A vertical section azimuth is something that we use to calculate distance from surface hole in the direction that you're drilling, because that calculation takes into account your VS azimuth. Um, uh, Otherwise, you'd get varying different calculations. So a lot of times on my surveys, I'll be checking like my bottom line the survey. So like I'm looking at measure depth, ink, azimuth. Those are just actual tangible measurements, right? But then I also look at TVD. That's a calculated value. I look at vertical section. That's a calculated value. And vertical section is calculated using vertical section azimuth. So if my VS azimuth number is input wrong, if I think I'm drilling in this direction, or if I'm calculating the drilling in this, but I'm drilling a little bit off of it, then my azimuth number will come back calculated a little bit different. Now, oh hey, I need to double check this survey file. I need to make sure that all my data or all the data they're sending is correct.
So are you measuring this based on degrees? Like, are you telling your geosteering guy, like, hey, we need to move this 2 degrees, like left or down? Like, how
That's
does
a
that work?
Yeah. So that's a little bit of a different conversation, but yes, that's exactly how the communication goes. A lot of times, I'll tell you, like my background is in geosteering, so a lot of times I'll start that discussion because I'm kind of watching and geosteering the well as well. But most of the time, that's the geologist that's watching that. They're correlating, they're seeing where we're at in zone, and what they'll do is they'll call the drilling team and they'll say, looks like we're getting towards the top of our zone. Bed dips are 90 degrees and we're at 92-degree inclination, right? So we're moving up in relation to those flat bed dips. They'll say, hey, we need to drop inclination. We want to target this spot. And so then we'll say, okay, well, what do we need to do to get down to there? We make a plan. How far are we going to slide? How aggressive do we need to be? All those different things. And so that's kind of how that feedback loop, that communication loop goes.
So it's very collaborative then.
Oh,
It's not like,
100%.
yeah, there's a
Yep.
lot of communication going on between a geosteering and you guys over here on.
And drilling.
Yeah, yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
usually everybody's got their lane that they kind of stay in. You know what I mean? Every company's different though, right? So a lot of times those lines kind of bleed across. But I mean, at the very base level, what I'd say is, geosteering and geology is like, here's where we are and here's where we want to be. That's what they're saying, right? So here's where we are, here's where we want to go. And then drilling's job is to say, okay, here's how we're going to get there, and then to execute on that plan and get there. So
Oh, that's
that's
great.
that's kind of, yeah, that's, if you imagine, I guess it'd be you've got like in a submarine, you've got a navigator who's back there charting the course and all that stuff. That's
Mhm.
probably your geologist kind of saying, here's where we are, here's where we want to go. But then you've also got, the guy who's got his hands on the control that's turning the screw. That's probably more your
Okay.
drilling guy on there. Yeah.
Got it. I love that analogy. That's a good one. Very cool. So these geosteering
Huh?
guys are working from home now too. I'm like hearing about that. How is that
So
gonna
yeah,
work?
it's everywhere. I mean, like I said, every company's different. So some guys are actually geosteering on location. They'll sometimes your mud logger will also be a geosteering guy, or sometimes used to. I mean, your geologist would a lot of times be out on location, and he'd be looking at samples and then geosteering as well. So it works all different ways. One of the most common now in the horizontal drilling is you've got a group of people who geosteer these wells remote. So like you can live all over the country. I mean, whenever I started a geosteering group early in my career back in like 2009, and we were steering wells all over the country from Oklahoma City. I mean, we steered Pennsylvania, Williston, we steered California, we steered Texas.
Hmm.
We looked at stuff overseas as well. We never actually steered one real time there, but we were steering stuff all over the country. And so, yeah, with the way that communication goes now and the way that data is delivered, I mean, I've got an EDR, which is electronic data recorder, Pason Taco, whatever, that's delivering me data with a 1 second delay that's actually happening on the rig. And the funny thing is I get so used to looking at it on the way that I look at it on my screen and all that stuff. Even when I'm on the rig floor with all the different things in front of me, like if we're working stuck pipe or tight hole or whatever, like I don't look at all the gauges out there because that's not how I'm used to looking at it. I'll be
Mhm.
standing on the rig floor, but I've got my iPad up and I'm watching the curves right there because that's the way that I usually interact with the data. And so the geologists and your geosteering, it's the same way. They usually work towers when you're geosteering. So you got one guy that's working days, one guy that's working nights. They often send out an update after every survey. A lot of times these companies, they're usually they're not always employees. They're kind of like a contract third party. And
Mhm.
so they'll be getting the data through email or through your EDR and sending out those updates every time you make a connection.
Hmm.
Yep. Yep.
And are they on a laptop? Can you do this from a laptop where you're kind of like
100%.
a mouse that you're clicking and you're moving? Or
Yeah,
okay.
yeah, you can laptop, desktop. I mean, they've got them now, I think, to where you could do stuff from your phone. I don't know if you can actually steer from your phone, but I know that they've got these apps to where you can share your correlation. Like, so if you're sharing it with like your team or your COO or whoever, they could log in and see your correlation real time as you're manipulating it, and then they could say, hey, what about this? What does it look like with 88-degree bed depth? So you'd be able to do that on your phone. You would see the correlation change. So that way you're not going back and forth through email and doing all that stuff, having to create reports and do all that. It just kind of speeds up that communication process if it's vital. So
Okay.
yeah. Yeah.
That's
So
awesome.
everything's remote now. Used to, before cell phones, they'd fill out the report and they'd have to drive into town and call it in or fax it in or do all those different things, and now, like last night I got a call in the middle of the night and we lost circulation and I'm watching them work blocks and talking to them, giving them my thoughts on what I'm seeing, how we want to deal with it, real time. So it's crazy. It's crazy how
Gosh,
much it's changed.
it changes a lot. But the good thing is, I guess you're getting a phone call at 2 in the morning instead of having to be out there on the rig at 2 in the morning, right? So
Oh yeah, I mean,
maybe there's a
100%.
plus.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't
There's
know.
always, there's always, you got to find the bright side in everything.
Yeah.
Yep, 100%.
Trying to figure that one out still with technology. It's like we're going so fast. Because I was even thinking about this. I'm like, my brain, even though I'm using these these chat GPT tools and things like that to
Hmm.
get done, and I know a lot of other people are too, I don't think the human brain was really designed to be able to process information that quickly almost, right? Like, okay, we've got the information, but like now I have to make another decision based on what I have, right? It doesn't slow down the decision making process. It also makes it worse, or like you have to still think at the same speed.
Right.
I've been thinking about that a lot. Like I'm more exhausted mentally now after using these tools than I was before, even though I'm
Really?
getting
Okay.
maybe 3 or 4 times more done. My brain is like, dude, and maybe I'm just getting older, but I don't know.
I like it. I don't enjoy the really tedious work of accumulating the data and and all
Yeah.
that stuff. I like the making decisions. I like looking pattern recognition and thinking about the problems and all that stuff. I do not like the data entry and the little minutia type deals. And so I mean I have to be able to do that, in order to be able to do my job, but I really enjoy the other stuff. And so for me, I get to the part that I enjoy so much faster.
I like the perspective.
Yeah,
That's a
that's
good
one of for me, that's the way I kind of look at it. But
yeah.
it also makes me be a much better multitasker because I'm running something over here, and while it's thinking and doing that, I'm moving on to something else.
Mhm.
And then I'm like, okay, well, I got to go back over to here. So, I'm kind of having to train myself a little bit as well.
Yeah, it's the 80/20 rule, right?
Oh yeah,
You just get 80% of the stuff you do is gonna influence, the important 20, so it's like, "Alright,
yep,
I need to
100%.
stop being such a perfectionist on some things."
Yeah,
Anyways, cool. Well, hey, man, I know you got a lot to do. I wanna be respectful of your time, and, I'm
I
gonna
appreciate it.
stuff. Good luck on your meetings, and, hopefully we can catch up again soon.
All right,
Yeah, thank you
next
guys for
week.
listening. Yeah, thanks for being on here. Check out our new website, localenergy.com, and we'll see you next week.